How is it going? Welcome to a new vlog, and today I'm a little nervous that I never am playing poker because I'm so comfortable with it, because I'm gonna do something I never done before. I'm gonna try to make a profit playing 1-3 without looking at my cards. Yeah, I remember hearing a few spots like the Molly's game, I think it was, that there was a guy that he was so much better than the players that he was able to do it without looking at his cards, and some woman I think online that won a tournament that way. And it sounds like fun both for content and for a challenge for myself to push myself and just put a lot more work while I'm playing, effort, and be aware of the dynamics that I think is really important, and sometimes I slack with that. So helping me just become more aware and finding more spots. A lot of times, you don't think about the little pots that you could have won, but those add up. It's not just big pots. Sometimes the little pots are more important because there's way more of them and they add up compared to the big pots that just once in a while. So yeah, let's head in there. I have no clue how it's gonna go. Hopefully I run good in a way that they don't have strong hands and I can get them to fold, and that I don't have to show too many hands at the beginning and they start realizing that I'm just being a fucking maniac. So there's a lot of variances still involved for them not hitting hands. And yeah, let's just head in there and play. Let's do it. Head into the poker room. As I mentioned, we're going to be playing 1-3. So max buy-in is 300 and a couple 2 to have in my pocket in case I need to add on. Hopefully not, but we're playing blind, so it is very likely that we will. We'll get started. I'm not going to be playing a bunch of hands because I don't want to look like a maniac. So I'm trying to have a strategy that I'm playing a decent amount, but nothing crazy that people will start calling me light. And we're going to have our first spot in the big blind. There's 3 limpers, and big part of my strategy is going to be trying to take pots down pre-flop. So if there's a bunch of limpers, just raising it big. So I make it $30, and only the low jack calls. Flop, jack, deuce, 3. Another position, I have a strategy of checking. So that's what I do. She checks back. Turn is a 3. And now this is a spot that one of the strategies is checking again, and like that, she may go thin for value if she has some pocket pair below the jack, or she may try to bluff and I can go for a check raise. But when I check again, she checks back. River is a 10. And now things get weird since he bets $15 out of turn. So yeah, I do checks. He does that. And I think that small bet just looks like a 10. And if I rip it, I could get it a fold. But honestly, I was a little nervous. I'm just super out of place, not looking at my cards. So in a moment, I do just let it go. And actually I had a pretty hand, 7-8 suited. And let's move on. Next one, I'm going to play this one. When there's 2 limpers, let's try to do it again. I make it $20. And this time they do fold. So we get some money pre-flop. And we had pocket 4s. So actually getting okay hands that I would have raised myself. Let's move on. Let's fold some so we don't look like a maniac. Ace 3 suited, ace 7 off, king 10 off, ace 6 off. In the big blind, we chop it up. Ace 10 off in the small blind, 4 deuce off. Now we are in the cutoff. 3 limpers. And again, there's a lot of limpers. I'm in late position. I'm just going to go for the opportunity. I'm going to get $25. Folds all the way to the hijack, and he does not fold. And he doesn't call either. He just rips it all in for $180. So, yep. I just let it go, and indeed he shows pocket aces. So hopefully we don't run into pocket aces that often when we are raising blind. Let's move on. The ace queen suited, that is very pretty, but again, gonna have to let it go. Ace 6 off, queen 7 off, 3 deuce off, jack deuce off. Now in a big blind, 3 limpers. So all right, high check. We don't have to raise every time. Maybe we could do something post flop depending on what happens. Flop 8 4 7, checks around. Turn is a jack, and yeah, I think it'd be a little crazy betting here, so multi-ways with a card that changes a lot. So I checks around. The river is a 10. And now, maybe I could bet just really small. And if no one has a 9, I could very likely take it down. So I bet $3. Under the gun 2 rips it all in for $47. So yeah, not the best start. And how these situations work, if I'm going to fold, I'm going to look at my cards first. Because maybe I have a nutted hand. And I'm not just going to be throwing away money. But when I look at my cards, that means I'm folding, so I lose money independent if I have a strong hand, and then I call and I win. That does not count. So no matter what happens right now, I lost those $3. And I look at my hand, and I actually have a 9. I got 9-3 off, so I do have a straight. So, yep, I have flicking a call. And maybe I should just fold it because he had a 9 with a queen. So, yep, he had a better straight, but as I mentioned, I only lose $6 in his hand, 3 pre-flop, 3 on the river, because the jam, again, it's after I looked at my cards, for the better or for the worse. That's going to go both ways today. So, let's move on. Small blind 9-4 off, pocket 5s now in the cutoff, and this is a very promising spot because there's a button straddle, and the button is a very tight player. You'd think he's straddling, so he wasn't, but he straddles sometimes, but he is super tight post flop. So I know I could get him off of a lot of hands. So when there's 2 limpers, this is a lot of dead money that I could take down right here pre-flop. So I make it $40. The big line tanks for a good amount of time. It almost looked like he was going to go all in, but finally he folds. Now it gets weird because under than 2 rips it all in out of turn for $60 because it's first on a button. It hasn't acted. The button does end up calling, and under than 2 rips it all in. And yeah, I'm not gonna look at my cards because I just have to call $20. So no matter what I have, I'm getting a price to call. So this is definitely a big disadvantage having short stacks in this game when I am not looking at my hand, because it's hard to bluff a short stack like this. But hopefully there's not too many of these guys in this game today, because this is definitely going to make it harder for me. But yeah, for $20, no matter what I have, I'm not folding, so I do call. So does the button. Flop is 4, 10, 6, and out of position. I'm just going to check. That is what I do, and the button rips it all in for $200. So yeah, let's just look at a hand, and I have 9-7 off. So I actually have a gut shot. But what are you going to do? He bet over pot. I'm not going to call with a gut shot. I do fold, and again, they show me pocket aces. That's what the button has. So, yeah, almost twice in a row someone has aces. That's definitely not a great recipe to try to make a profit. And the turn is an 8. So, we would have turned the nuts. Our 9-7 off, that would have been insane. But, yeah, I got to fold when he rips it for over pot. River is a 3. And, yeah, like that, we are down over $100. So, definitely not the start I was hoping for. Let's just focus on keep it going. King 4 suited, Jack 9 off. Now in the big blind, cut off limps, and I check. Flop 3, 5, 6. I check, he checks. Turns a queen. Yeah, an overcard, he could have queen, so I check. He checks, there's a deuce. And now let's try to do it. I bet $3 and he folds. And yeah, I won the pot, but I still lost money because the pot was $7 and house took 5, so I lost $1. And I gave a $1 tip to the dealer, so that's why you shouldn't be limping that often. Let's move on. Queen, Jack off. Someone buys the blinds, so I have another hand. 10-3 off. Now on the button. And when it folds to me and I'm in the button, I'm always going to be raising. So I make it $12. And this the big blind calls. Flop 7, 9, 10. And strategy that I'm going to have today is this c-betting half pot, just range, except on ace high board. So I make it $12 and he calls. Turn is very nice. It's an ace. That's definitely a pretty scary card. I think I could be betting here and get a lot of cards that are going to be calling the flop. Fold here. Not that many, because on this flop, there is a lot of pairs that are a straight draw to go with the pair. So I still think that I'm going to get a lot of calls that I do think I could get to fold on the river. So let's keep on betting. I make it $30. And once again, he calls. River is a king. So, I'm pretty happy, honestly, because this run out is very scary. And I do think I could get a lot of hands to fold. And the fact that I'm blind, that's just going to make the strategy today that I'm going to be bluffing in spots that I just think he has enough amount of hands that will fold to make it profitable. And here, I definitely think it happens since he has a lot of pairs that had a draw that will call twice and fold on this river, especially on this run out. That's very scary. I have plenty of value with 2 pair, with straights. So I do think I could get a lot of folds. And if I pot it here, if I pot, it literally just has to work half of the time, and I definitely think that's going to happen. So let's bet. I'm going to get $110, little over pot, and he goes into the tank. And now I'm just hoping, please fold, because if he calls here, we are definitely going to have a very rough start, being over $200. That may not be easy to make back playing blind. He thinks and thinks and thinks, and finally does fold. Let's go. Our first triple barrel bluff of the night gets through and helps us get a chunk back of the money. So let's try to get back to the green. Let's fold a good amount too, because again, we can't be playing every hand, and I don't want people thinking I'm a maniac because I'm bluffing every single time. So I'm trying to have an image that I'm betting for value, and for that to happen, I just can't be playing a bunch of hands. And I'm going to try to find good spots, just try to play more in late position. I will play some in early just for the purpose of the content to make it interesting. And yeah, so now we are in the cutoff, and it folds to me, and button cutoff, good spots to raise. So I make it $12, small blind calls. Big blind clicks it to 25. Yeah, this player, he is super tight. Looks so nutted. So I look at my hand and I have queen 4 off. So yeah, I fold. And indeed, he had pocket aces. And now I'm the one that has pocket aces. And no, I am not going to fold them. One rule I decided to have today, because again, I'm not just going to be throwing away money, but I'm going to keep this as real as possible. So I will play if I have aces, kings, queens, or ace king. But whatever profit or loss I have with these hands, I will not add it to the vlog, because all profit, all loss will only be from hands that I'm playing blind. So yeah, I'm not going to fold pocket aces, but I'm going to play them. So let's tag along. Under the limps, I make it $15. Get a cut off small blind, big blind, and under the gun to call. So crazy multi-way to a pretty safe looking flop. Jack, 3, deuce. But the small blind, the same player I mentioned earlier that is super tight, donks for $160. That is over 2x the size of the pot. Folds to me, and I have no clue what to do here. This is such a weird random spot. And one thing I was thinking, he did kind of tank a little bit pre-flop. And the thing I didn't mention earlier, when I made it $40 and looked like he was going to go all in, he had pocket kings. He just talked himself into thinking that I was raising that big just with aces, and he folded pocket kings. So now I'm into the tank here, because I think maybe he could have queens or kings himself here that didn't call. If he'll fold kings pre-flop to 40, he may call 15. So I was just thinking maybe he just called with kings and queens and wanted to see a low board, and I was just going with it. Or maybe ace jack altogether. I don't know. I know it's value, but I didn't know if he was doing it with worse. And there's just not many sets. Yeah, jack, 3, and deuce. There is 3 possibilities of sets. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just thought he could be doing this with king or queen as well, or maybe ace jack. So it's just one of those spots I know he's going for value, but I don't think I could fold because he could be going for value with worse. So I am not just calling. I just rip it all in for 310. Folds to him. He calls, turns a queen, rivers ace-7. And we are no good against pocket deuces. So yeah, he donked 2x pot with bottom set. And it worked out very well for him. I mean, honestly, I'd probably fold kings because less amount of value that he could be doing this with. And yeah, we are now down a chunk in real life. But again, this does not count for the blind hands because I looked at it for good or bad. So thankfully, we're still down just $82 in this one. So we'll get through a few more hands. And yeah, honestly, I was a little frustrated, tilted right now. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this day for a while. Just playing blind was something I had in mind to do for a good amount of time. Just being very excited about doing something and just running so bad to get going. Just 3 times already someone has pocket aces when I raise pre-flop. And then I have it and someone cracks it. Even though that doesn't affect this vlog. You know, still losing $300 isn't fun. And another issue is that there's a couple short stacks that's just making it really difficult because they're just limping and they just have about $50. So if I raise it to 20, 30, it's they're just going to go all in. And yeah, not very profitable going all in for $50 when I don't look at my hands. So not the best situation, but it is what it is. Let's just focus and try to do it. And we have another promising spot. Since again, I'm in the button for limpers. So yep, I make it $30. Let's try to take this down pre-flop. Pulls it to cut off, the one who ripped all in with aces. And he shows me king, queen off and folds. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm not looking at my cards. People limp folded with king, queen off. Let's go. That was a decent little something pre-flop. Get the morale going the right direction. And let's move on to jack 7 off, queen 3 off. Low jack, let's raise it up, $12. Everybody folds. 10-3 off, ace-6 off. Now I buy the blinds because I took a little break to go to the bathroom. I'm in the cutoff, low jack limps. I check, button, big blind call. Flop 3-4 jack. Big blind leads for $25. And yeah, that is way bigger than the size of the pot. So I'm not trying to bluff here. I look at my hand and I have 3-6 off. So I did that bottom pair, but not calling for that price. Jack 9 off, ace 5 off, queen 10 off, jack 5 suited. In a big blind, cutoff raised, so I just let it go because I looked. Jack 7 off. Now we are in the button. There is 2 limpers, and yeah, I'm in the button and there's limpers. I'm always going to be raising, so hopefully they don't catch up to that. I make it $20. I get that big blind under the one to call. Flop, king 5-9, and yeah, checks to me. pretty multi-way. I'm going to say c-bet small. Hopefully this is missed. I bet $20. And yeah, big blind goes all in to $16. Again, shitty part, a bit being against a short stack, but just not going to fold. And under than one calls as well. So when the turn is a deuce, one player all in, I just can't bluff, so no purpose in betting. I check. River's a 4, goes check, check. Big blind shows ace jack off. Under than one shows ace 3 suited for a missed flush draw. So I look at my hand, and I got king 7 off. I have top pair. I show it. I think I'm good until someone lets me know that under than one ace 3 suited is a missed flush draw, but it's a runner straight. So we do have top pair, but it's not good. And I just wasn't thinking he had value because he checked back the river. So definitely interesting spot. So we got lucky having top pair, playing blind, but sadly someone actually had a better hand. So this spot will not be going our way. Let's move on to 7-6 off. Now on a cutoff, let's try to get back in the green. I'm going to get $12 and just a big blind calls. Flop, 8 jack 10. He checks, see betting range. I'm going to get $12 and easy one this one since he does let it go. And we have 7-3 off. Let's go. Ace jack off, 5-4 off. Now on a big blind, under the gun, cut off limb, small blind calls. I check, flop 3-6 jack, checks around, turns a king. I bet $5, checked around. This small blind calls, river is a 3. He checks, and this player, he's a type 1 that folded with king, queen. So I think he could just be having a diamond a lot here. So let's go for it. I bet $20, and he does fold. We take down another one. Jack 10 off, queen 6 off, queen 8 off, jack 4 off, 5-3 off, ace 9 off, jack 5 off. Now, we're in a big blind, bunch of limpers. I check. We go to a flop where someone bets. I see my hand, that's ace 4 off. That does not hit the board, so I let it go. Queen 5 suited, queen 8 off, queen 9 off, 8-3 suited. Now we change to our favorite seat, that's 7, and I like the view more from there for the videos. When a low jack, I make it $12 and everybody folds. The next hand is 6-4 suited. All right, so halfway through, since we're gonna do 4 hours, and it's a little over 2 hours that we've been playing, and I guess not the worst if we're just talking about the playing blind hands, because the ones I looked at, I just got wrecked. So I'm down definitely a chunk because of that pocket aces that I honestly really wanted to fold. But yeah, when I think he could have value too that I'm beating, it's a weird spot altogether. It's just a random, like, once in a lifetime spot. And yeah, I ran pretty bad at the beginning since I was just, people kept on having aces against me pre-flop. So hard definitely to get those to fold. And yeah, just a few times I look at my hand, the time I had a straight, the guy had a better straight. But anyways, these guys already saw that. Take a little break, head back in there, feeling okay. I mean, at least my bluffs are getting through. The triple barrel and a few other ones. I want to try to get some 3-bets in too, pre-flop. Just one of those reasons. I mean, one issue that I was having right now is that there's this one woman that's a short stack. So I'm not going to get her to fold pre-flop. You know, she has like 50, 40 bucks. So she just got stacked. And it seems like she's come back. So hopefully she comes in for more, because it's just really hard to get someone to fold when there's that short. As you saw with the ones, you just call with ace high. So yeah, anyways, let's try to get some more bluffs going through. We're not down that much, so hopefully we get back in the green for, you know, the live side of it. That's the goal. And yeah, let's get back to it. We come back from the break. We buy the blinds. There's a bunch of limpers. I check. Flop comes a bunch of cards. When someone bets, I got queen 6 off, and these cards are not connected to one of the board, so I do let it go. Now the button folds to us, and yep, button raising. I make it $12, and they fold. We had 9-2 suited, so happy they folded. Queen 4 off. Now we're in the hijack, low jack limps, and let's try to do it in a little earlier position. I make it $15, and the cutoff button, a low jack calls. So yeah, 4 ways this may be tricky. Flop comes deuce 7-9, and yeah, 2 players after me. I check, checks around. That's good news. Turn now is a king. I check here, checks at the button, who bets $30. And honestly, I did have kind of idea of a strategy going for a check raise here, because most likely he only has a 1-paired hand. That's a king. And if I check raise here and rip it on the river, I did get a lot of those kings to fold. Just in a moment, he said 1 time. That sounded kind of weird, because usually you say 1 time when you have a draw. And I think he would have bet his draws on the flop. So altogether, that kind of got me a little worried. Maybe just an excuse to not go for the check raise here and put stacks in on the river. But I do look at my hand and have queen 5 off. So yep. And he did end up having king 4 suited. So interesting that he said that. And definitely think I could have got that to fold with check raise rip it. But we did not. So let's move on. 6-4 suited, king 3 off. I check. We see a free flop and fold. and 10-3 off. Now on the button, 2 limpers. Let's go for it. I make it $20. And only the small blind calls. This player has been pretty action today. Flop 7-3-7. He checks, and pretty good board in a way that I can't see my cards, and that board doesn't connect too much with many hands, so hopefully I can get it to fold. I make it $20, and he calls. Turn is a deuce. He checks, and yeah, I think he'd be calling the flop with plenty of ace highs, king highs. It's almost everything. So now I think I can get a lot of those to fold. I don't want to bet too big. I think about a 7. Maybe I'd be betting on the smaller side. And like that, I could keep the range wide when I bet the river. So that is the plan. I make it $30. And things don't go as planned. Since he check raises to 100, definitely not loving getting check raised here. So, yep, let's just look at our cards since we are done with this. And I got 7-6 off. I've got a 7. What in the world? So, as I mentioned, as this goes, I am down for the vlog since I looked. So, I'm down $188. But, of course, I'm not just going to be gifting this guy money. I got trips. So, let's just play this hand. I do call. River is a jack. He rips it all in for $107. And honestly, I have trips. I'm not loving it because, I mean, I'm losing against more 7s. And now even the backdoor flush comes in that I thought was most likely the bluffs he could have. But yep, less than half pot. I'm not going anywhere. I do flick into call. And he shows king jack off. So super interesting. And he just checkers me on a turn with king high. Not many draws. And great for this hand since I get a chunk of the money back from the pocket aces hand. But pretty bad news for this situation because I got a guy right to my left who is just ready to battle because he check raised me on the turn. He called a flop with king high and check raised on the turn with absolutely nothing. So this is not what I need when I'm playing blind, a guy battling against me because it's hard to win when I can't see my cards. So hopefully he doesn't do this much more because it's definitely going to make this a lot harder for me. And now having the big blind, Hasek makes it $10. And this player, I've seen him make it $15 before. So when the button of small blind calls, this is definitely a spot I just have to attack when people have different sizes and the callers in between. It's just a bunch of dead money. And I think this will get through a good amount of time. So let's sweep it. I make it $60. And we see the amazing news when everybody does fold. And we had 9-4 suited. Let's go. Jack 4 off. Pocket 3s. 10-9 off. 9-7 off. 3 deuce off. Queen jack off. Now I'm in a big blind under the gun, under the 1 button, small blind limp. And yeah, I think maybe I was just feeling like I was being a little too aggressive, playing too many hands. So I do just check this time. Flop 3, 6, 7. I check under the gun, but it's $13. Button calls. And I look at my hand because I'm going to fold. And I got pocket 6s. What in the world is going on? So again, I lost here. We are now down 162. Because I looked at my hand, so that just says I lose. But of course, I'm not folding my set. Let's go for a check raise. I make it $50 and only under than 1 calls. Turn, probably one of the worst cards you could say. It's an 8 of diamonds. So, yeah. I mean, if he had a straight, he probably already had a straight on the turn with 4 or 5. But it does bring in the flush. So now I'm in pocket a little bit. I check, and he bets $140. That's over pot. So I just think this is a flush, and I'm not even getting the price to get a full house when he bets over the size of the pot. So, yep. I just let it go, and he's kind enough to show us Queen 7 of diamonds. So anyways, at least we won the other one looking at the hand when we had the trips. Let's move on. Small blind, Queen Jack suited. It's pretty, but yeah, we have to let it go. Button, you know what's happening when there's a limper. I make it $15. You get a small blind and big blind to call. Flop, 5, Jack 3. Checks to me, and yeah, we are 3 ways. Let's go for it. I make it $15, and only the big blind calls. Turn is an ace. That could go both ways, since definitely he could be calling me with a ace of diamonds that now is, top pair. That's definitely not going to fold. But there's plenty of other hands. I'm just going to call once and fold on the turn, especially when it's an ace. If he has a jack, if he has a 5, if he has a 3, those are all foldings. Let's go for it. I make it $40, and once again, bluffs at least are getting through since he does fold, and we had Jack 8 off, so we actually flopped top pair. Who knows, maybe that was good. Queen 7 off, 8, 7 off. Now in the big blind, bunch of limpers. I see a free flop and miss. I look at my hand, at Jack 10 off. Small blind, 2 limpers. Let's go out for it this time. I make it $25, and they fold, and I had Jack 9 off. Queen 4 suited, pocket jacks. Yep, we gotta let it go though. Hijack, a limper. I make it $15, and they fold.
We had Queen 7 suited. So, hey, little by little, we are just down $106 now. So we could still make it. Let's focus because I would love to book a win in this video. So now we're in the button hijack limps. I make it $15. You get a big blind and hijack to call. Flop, 4-7 king. And yeah, give me 3 ways. I'm just going to go on just C betting range. So I make it $20 and only the big blind calls. Turn is another king. He checks, and this is pretty good news because, yeah, less likely he has a king himself. And probably if he had a 7 or a 4, he should be calling more. But when just in live cash games, I just think when people barrel, when top pairs, it just looks a lot stronger. And people do start folding a lot of hands. Like if they had a pair, a 7, a 4, of course, the king's not folding. And even a flush draw may just see a pair of the board and not want to chase. So I do think I'm going to get a good amount of folds in this turn, even though he called next to axe. So definitely a little stronger than if the hijack would have called. But let's just go for it because, again, we can see our cards. So most likely we're not good. And we're not going to get into green by just checking and giving up. So let's do it. I'm going to get $40. And once again, we are running good, at least in these blind hands when we're bluffing, because again, he folds. So most of the bluffs are getting through. That's absolutely amazing. King 9 off, Jack 6 off. Now the low jack, I make it $12 and they fold. In the big blind, we got pocket 5s. Small blind 9-5 off. 7 deuce off. Now in the cutoff, 2 limpers. I make it $20. Button calls. Now, the big blind rips it all in for $43. And I think this is the 3rd time that it happens. It's their short stacks here and they rip it and we're just here stuck having to call because, yeah, I just got to call $23 to see a flop. So, yeah, this is a downside of having short stacks. We're kind of screwed. So, yep, I call. So does the button. We basically end up checking it down. Flop is king, king 10, turns 8. River is another 10. And you will not believe this. You're going to think, people are just going to say that this is BS, that I'm looking at my cards. But the button shows 8-9, so he has 8. But I have 7 deuce. Yeah. Worst possible hand. That's what we have when we got it all in 3 ways. So big blind had king, queen off. So he actually flopped trips. So we were dead on the flop. Well, never mind. Well, we were dead since the other player had a flush draw. And yeah, at least, I mean, I would have preferred to win, but can you imagine if I actually would have won this hand? I had to show that I went all in. I call it all in 3 ways with 7 deuce offs. They definitely would have known something's weird going on. So I guess it's kind of bittersweet. So at least I didn't have to show my hand. But for sure would have been funny, but we did not win it. I fold a few hands to not look like a maniac. I want to let you know that I got a link in my description. If you want to play online like I do every Sunday, my favorite site is Jamul Casino. And if you're a new player, you get a 3K bonus. And it's my favorite site since I think it's the softest player pool since it's all anonymous. And yeah, the link's in the description in that one if you want to play. And now I am in the small blind. Cut off limps. And again, let's try to win some pots out of position to make this more entertaining. I make it $20. I get that big blind and cut off the call. So, all right, let's get this going. Flop is 10, king 9. And I check. It checks around. Turn is a king. And this seems like a good spot because I think most likely they would have bet that a king. And now we could just bet ourselves since I think I have the stronger range. I could bet it myself. I could have checked the king out of position. And let's just do it because they checked. And that was the strategy. I make it $20. And just a big blind calls. That is the action player that tried to bluff me earlier. River is another king. Okay, definitely very interesting run out. And this is just one of the spots that I know I'm going to get called a good amount of the time, right? If he has a 10, if he has a 9, he's just most likely not going to fold. But he can have a bunch of random hands, ace highs, even anything that has a queen or a jack that was a gut shot or even a 8, maybe not. As I'm saying, he gets plenty of hands that just completely miss. There's even a flush draw on a flop that maybe he just checked and then called the turn with. Altogether, I know I'm getting called a lot, but if I bet half pot, it really doesn't have to work that often, and I think it make it profitable. So let's do it. I make it $40. And once again, he folds. So definitely very lucky, honestly, that we're not running against it. Just the bluffs are getting through over and over again. And now we're just down a little over $50. So we're getting towards the end of the session, but we have a chance. And to make that happen, we're going to have to be playing more hands. So let's just play a little more aggressive, a little more hands. Hopefully people don't catch on. Next hand, we're in a button hijack limps. I make it $15. And this is the small blind calls. Flop 4-3-7. As I mentioned, this player, I think he just check raised a lot, and this board is definitely not the best for me. So when he checks, I check back, turns ace. Now he checks again. Probably should be betting here. I get it. A lot of times people love to play aces, but he could have plenty of other hands that will fold. But in the moment, I do check back. River's another ace, and now he checks. And this was a spot that I just don't think he would believe me. If I should have bet, it would have been on the turn on the river. Just nothing makes sense. So I just think I'm going to call very light. So I do look at my hand. And once again, I got ace-6 off. I've got trips again. So just a reminder, I looked at my cards. So that means I check. And I would have won this pot, what's already in there. So that means I'm now just down $38. But in real life, I want to make some real money. So let's try to get some value. I make it $15. He does call, I show, and he mucks. So again, those last $15 do not count for the vlog. Let's move on. 10-3 off, 8-6 off, pocket jacks again. Yep, letting it go. Under the gun. Let's try to play a hand out of position. I make it $12. Just a button calls. Flop, king 9-6. I check, that's when we do out of position, and she bets $100. So, yeah, definitely not going to try to bluff someone who almost bets 4x the size of the pot. So look at my hand, and actually half top pair. I got king 8 off. What in the world? What am I going to do? I mean, I don't know this woman, but she hasn't been that out of line. So I just think if someone bets 4x the size of the pot, she probably has me beat. So I'm just going to let her have it. I let it go. Now in a big blind, hijack, cut off, limp. I check, flop, 4-8-5. Checks around, turns ace, checks around. River is a deuce. And let's try to get as much as we can. I think most likely someone would have bet the flop with the 8, the turn with the ace. So let's try. I make it $5. And indeed, they all fold. Small blind, we chop it up. I had 10-8 off. Now we are in the button. When under the gun, low jack limp, you know what's going to happen. I make it $20. And only under the gun calls. Flop, king 6-8. I bet $20 and he folds. Let's go. And I jack 10 off. And now I'm getting really excited because honestly, I was kind of just giving up. I was just trying to do my best, but I was down almost $200. I wasn't very optimistic, but we are now down just $22. So let's just focus and try to do this. We could actually get in the green. Now I'm in under the gun 1. And maybe I should just play good spots to try to get in the green. But screw it. Let's do it. I make it $12. Just a low jack calls. Flop 5-9-4. And out of position, I check. And he bets $15. And yeah, not that big of a size. So I do think with some good turns and rivers, I can still take this down. So I do call. Turn is a 7 though. I check and he bets $25. And yeah, just really not loving it, especially on that turn. He did bet on the smaller side, but I just wasn't loving it. So I do just let it go. So yeah, maybe I should just focus on finding good spots just to try my best to get in the green. Now we are under the gun and we're going to see a premium ace king suited. As I mentioned, I'm going to play this one, but it's not going to count for the vlog. I make it $12, but no action since everybody folds. Jack 10 off. Blinds, we chop it up. Now in the small blind, king, queen off. Now button, 2 limpers. I make it $20 and they fold. Cut off, 2 limpers. And let's do it again. I want to get in the green. Or we're going to get in the green and we're going to be down a lot. I make it $20 and just a low jack calls. Flop, queen, 10-6. He checks, I bet $20 and he folds. Let's go. And we actually had top pair again. Queen 7 off, so it's crazy playing blind. We're actually hitting a good amount of the board. All right, guys, let's try to make this happen. We're just down $18. 5-4 off, 9 deuce off, 9-7 off. Now we're in a big blind, 3 limpers. Let's go for it. If we just get this to fold, we're going to be almost close to even. I make it $30 and only the cutoff calls. Flop 10-5-5. And yeah, usually I'm going to be checking out a position, but this player, he doesn't have that much behind. He just has a little under $100. And if I check, I just think maybe he thinks I'm weak. And I think just most likely I'm going to get most folds by betting. So let's go for it. I'm going to get $20 and he does call. Turn is a 3. And he just has $75 behind, so screw it. Let's go for it. And this will be our last hand. I'm actually way after the time I'm usually done because usually Flynn is playing at 11:30, but I want to get in the green and it's almost midnight. So this hand will make the difference of us having a winning session or a losing one. I rip it all in for $75. He goes into the tank, and I haven't wanted someone to fold so bad in a long time, even though this pot is tiny, because it would be amazing to be able to book a win for this vlog playing blind, especially since we were down almost $200. And he goes into the tank. He's thinking and thinking and thinking, and I'm just saying, please, man, let it go. Let your pocket pair go. That was most likely, that's what I thought he had by limping and then calling a big size pre-flop. He thinks and thinks and thinks, and finally, he does fold. Let's go. And we look at a hand, and I got king 10 off. How is this happening? I got top pair again. Look at the videos. I'm filming since the very beginning. I promise I'm not looking at my cards. And it wouldn't make a difference, honestly. Every time I actually had a strong hand, except the pocket aces with trips, it wasn't relevant since I would be folded. And we booked a win. And to make it even extra special, it's $33. That's our favorite number. So we did it. We were able to book a profit in 1-3 without looking at my cards. And this definitely felt like achievement for me because I've been trying to push my game and be more aggressive. And today, every single hand was a bluff. So back in the day, I would be super comfortable bluffing once or twice in the session. And here we are bluffing every single time and booking a profit. Let me know if you enjoyed watching this. Maybe do it again in the future. And if you could show some love by liking, commenting, and subscribing, because yeah, all that interaction helps the channel grow. And I don't think I mentioned it. I got a Discord, a lot of poker talk, and much more. So I'll leave that in the description as well. And with all that, let's just rack up, cash out, and talk a little more about the session.
Let's go. We did it. I actually stayed later to play the extra half an hour just to try to get in the greens. I was so close. It's like, I don't want to leave down 20. I just want to or just make a big bluff and be down 100 or be in the green. So yeah, it was amazing. Definitely ran good in a few spots that I just had it. The one with the trip sixes. And the last one he did fold, so it was irrelevant, but I did have a king 10 on the very end. So I had, just in case he did call, I probably was good because I don't think he would have folded ace 10 there. We double flat, I thought it was mostly pocket pairs. That I'm guessing that's what it was. So yeah, that was harder than I was thinking it was gonna be. It's not easy to make a profit when you can't go for value. When every time you're betting, it's just bluffing. It's not the easiest thing to do, and but we did it. And yeah, 4.5 hours. I was thinking originally when I was gonna do this like 3 hours, but yeah, thankfully towards the end it went well because I was down almost 200 at a point. So that was a hell of a comeback towards the end, especially once that one guy left, the action dude, because it was pretty hard with him there because he was just playing and he was battling against me and bluffing, trying to bluff me. So when I'm always bluffing, when someone's like sticking around to try to get you later, it's really hard. Just that one time I was so lucky that I had trips myself. That was crazy. But good night, man. So anyways, altogether amazing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and that didn't affect the experience, that I played a few hands. It didn't affect the outcome because I didn't add the loss or the wins. Actually, with the pocket aces altogether, I was down $75. So only without looking at my hands, I was up 33, but altogether with that one, that it was a pretty big pot that I lost, I was down 75. But thankfully we don't count that, and we did win without looking at our cards. And that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Maybe I'll do it again in the future. Definitely not 2-5 unless my bankroll is way bigger, and I can't afford that. And as usual, if you guys could like, subscribe, and comment. Always happy to, not much to talk about these hands though. Well, I guess if you have any questions about the hands. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.